you doing? This is your boy Brogi Naric, back again with another episode of TV Math. And in this video, I'm going to give you my spoiler review of Netflix's I Am Not Okay With This, which is a great series that dropped, I think, about the end of February, and I finally got around to it due to people telling me about it and just lack of things to watch on Netflix. And this will be a full spoiler review. If you don't want spoilers, you can check out the non-spoiler review, which is on the channel. Link will be in the description and also in the annotation. So from here on, we're going to get into full spoilers. So this series, I'm Not Okay With This, is an awesome show. Quick and simple. It's 7 episodes. Each episode is under 30 minutes, which is one of the best things I've watched in a while because it's easy to get through. And it's based on an independent comic that was written by Charles Folsman, and it was directed by Jonathan Instwittle, who directed End of the Fucking World, which is a movie on Netflix. I have not seen it, but I might check it out after watching this because I really like the direction of this season. And it focuses on a teenage girl who has superpowers, who's struggling with how to deal with those powers. And one of the things I didn't know it was going to be about, but it's also about her struggling with her sexuality, which I didn't know it was going to be about that, but I kind of guessed it was after a certain moment. I was like, we might go down this route, and we did. I was fine with it. Very interesting how that stuff was handled. Of course, you have a main character, Sydney Novak, played by Sophia Lillis, this is probably the first thing I've seen her in. She's in the It movies, the recent It movies, and she looks like a young Amy Adams, which she really does. Like, I don't know if this is her niece or her cousin or a daughter she does not claim. I don't know what's going on, but she looks just like that woman. And she's funny. The way she handles the comedy in this, she does great, and her facial expressions, she's awesome. And her acting is really good too. I'm like, wow, she's a really good actor. Her and the guy that plays Stanley Barber, played by Wyatt Oleff, who was also in the It movies. He's funny too. And their chemistry was great. They both play that awkward teen interactions. Like they both like each other, but like they also, there's a certain awkwardness between them. I can relate to that. Trust me, I've been in a relationship like that, especially involving high school. So I can kind of relate. I kind of understood the vibe that they were kind of going through. And their chemistry is really good. And also the chemistry between Sophia Lillis and Sophia Bryant, who plays Dina. Their friendship was really good too. I like that it seemed very real. Like, you can have a kid who is the awkward kid, but it can also be friends with the popular kid, even though she's not like the stereotypical cheerleader or anything like that. But she's an attractive, beautiful girl. She's also intelligent, and she knows how to be friendly to someone who's not the cool kid. And I like that. That's real. Like, it's not quite as stereotypical. It hits those tropes at certain times with other characters, like say the Brad character, who was kind of playing it normal until towards the end when he just turns full stereotypical bully. One of the things that I really like about this series is that 80s vibe, but also not just the 80s vibe, but how this story is told. And it reminds, a lot of people might say it reminds them of Stranger Things. To me personally, it reminds me of if John Hughes and John Carpenter had made a movie, because it's got that Breakfast Club, 16 Candles-ish vibe, but then it got that weird, superpower-y sci-fi vibe, sort of, I don't know, Starman-ish vibe to it, and it meshes very well. And it's nice to see something like that that's not just, like, say, with Stranger Things, so it's like, here's Steven Spielberg and here's Stephen King, but it's going to kind of mesh those together. I like that they're doing other different sort of things, and I really appreciate that. So Sydney Novak, 17-year-old born white girl. She's new to town. They live in the Pennsylvania area. And I like how this show kind of, whenever I had a question, the show, in the way it's told in narration, very much like a comic book where Sydney is like narrating her inner thoughts. And I like how when she talks about she went through a family tragedy, and then like how serious that tragedy is when you realize it's like her dad killed himself in the basement. I didn't see that one coming. And the revelation when she decides to, well, just the idea how she's like, she has this negative energy towards her mom, And you're waiting on like maybe her mom is a bad person, but no, her mom is a normal person. It's just Sid is just being an asshole teenager because she doesn't know how to deal with the grief of losing her dad, and she kind of idolizes him more than what he actually was. Once the mom explains, like, you tend to choose him more than me, and you have this idea of him when he wasn't the person you thought he was. Not saying he was a bad person, but like he wasn't the caring, always in her life type of person that he was, because he was dealing with depression. He was, and I think they said he was also a stoner too, as opposed to someone like her mom who was out there working and busting her ass, which was her mom. Her mom Maggie, played by Kathleen Rose Perkins. She did a good job. She's not like overly in this, but the time she pops up, because she's barely in their lives because she's always working. She works at a diner. That's why I was like, when does this show take place? Because when she pops up, she's wearing a diner's outfit. I'm like, who works at a diner in 2020 or 2019, whenever this is set? So I was thrown off by that, but she's a hardworking mom, and I love that moment where she explains how the dad was, ex-military. He was dealing with PTSD. Then he went on a mission where there was this explosion, and he was the only one who survived. Like, people on, his team and enemies died, but he was the only one who survived, and he was dealing with that guilt. And they kind of hint that maybe he also had powers, if not the same powers as Sid, and that's probably why he killed himself, because he couldn't control it. That stuff was interesting, and I wish they could explain a little bit more of that, but I guess they're going to save that for the second season. But it's interesting to see how this is going to play out. This is going to be like an X-Men thing where it's like there are other people with powers and they're being persecuted, or they're all just government experiments. Who knows? But I am interested to see where this goes and how dynamic will this series go as it goes on. Because I like the low-key groundedness that this series kind of has. So, and hopefully if they get a little bit bigger, they don't go too overboard with it. Oh, another minor character I want to talk about is Liam Novak, who is Sydney's little brother, played by Aiden Wojak Hissong. I think that's how you say it. He was fun. He was a funny kid. He's a cute kid, too. And I love his little subplot with him dealing with the bully, which is another 80s trope. He's got this girl he's got a crush on who's like, because he's like short and she's like a tall chick. And he's got a crush on her, and he's getting bullied on by this kid. And Sid, talks shit to him, and then that comes back later when that kid punches him, and then Liam's all mad at her and all that. That stuff was great, and he's funny, and yeah, it shows like Sid's a jerk, but she can be nice because she's kind of, it's the two of them kind of raising themselves to a degree because their mom is always so busy, and that felt very realistic too. They felt like a real friendly family vibe to them. I really bought that. Sid and Stanley are adorable. I love their friendship. I love how that whole sequence with them hanging out that first time where they go to the grocery store and she like freaks out because she doesn't have enough money to get the groceries, and she accidentally knocks all the groceries off the aisles, to the moment when they start smoking. And also like that Stanley's just like a low-key weed dealer. He's not like a big-time weed dealer. He's just giving weed to like, I think he said like his cousin and some of his cousin's friends. But their vibe of them hanging out was great. And I love that whole moment where they're hanging out at his house, and they're showing each other their pimples. She's got like pimples on her thighs, and he's got back knee that goes all the way down to his ass. And then they just make out, and then the next episode we find out that they banged. That's the because I was like, oh, they made out, and then it was her talking with Dina at the diner, like, wait, she's like, you and Stanley Barber? I was like, oh, okay. And then that's when we also get the hint that she might be gay, because she's telling Dina. Dina's like, well, did you enjoy it? And she's like, oh yeah, it was fun. But in her mind, she's like, it was awkward. And I was like, okay, we might be going down this path. And of course, we do. And the bit where they go to the party, where because earlier we find out what's his name, Brad, the jock, he got injured. So Dina and Sid go to this party, and they're hanging out, they're dancing. She's, because Sid doesn't really like to, she's all so conscious and everything, but she realizes, like, no, like, nobody cares. Let's just dance. So they're dancing. Steve comes in, and that kind of throws, not Steve, Brad comes in, and that kind of throws things off. So Dina goes to hang with him. Stanley's there, and we also get introduced to the character Jenny, who is just stereotypical. She's just stereotypical bad girl, but like she's almost. I mean, she is stereotypical. She's just bad to be bad. Like that's her only thing in life is just to fuck with people, and she's really good at that. And it's funny how, because I was like, okay, because they put emphasis on her. I'm like, well, where is this going? So we find out Dina and Brad have an argument. So Dina's drunk, laying in the bed. Sid's drunk, laying in the bed. They're hanging out, and then that's when Sid kisses Dina, which, you know, she once, it's that weird vibe, you know, the two of them kissing each other, and she like runs away. She's embarrassed because her emotions got the best of her. And I can't. I think before that, she leaves. She runs into Stan, and Stanley asks her out to homecoming, which this is the thing focuses on high school. So of course, it's gonna be a prom or homecoming is the big thing. And he asks Sid, and Sid like, sure, I'll go with you. And then she runs away due to embarrassment. And then that's when she runs into the woods, and she like, I think she screamed "fuck" really bad, and like sends out a shockwave and knocks down a bunch of trees, just showing how powerful she really is. And she unleashes this psychic blast. And when she was running in the street, she almost got hit by a car. Turns out that car was Stanley's, so he like swerves and kind of knocks the side of it. But he's there when her powers goes off, and that's when he realizes she has powers. So now she's like, they're working together to keep it a secret. He's excited because, of course, he's a nerd, so he's into comics. And he decides to be her mentor. And he's like, you know, I could use my knowledge of comics to help you with these powers. And they have their failed training montage at the bowling alley where he works at. And he's setting up all this stuff. And she's not really trying that hard, but she can't really access her powers that easily. So, and I love that little speech where he's talking about how he thinks comics are real. He feels like the writers of comics are tapping into this somehow psychologically or maybe subconsciously tapping into this higher consciousness of reality, and they're writing it down as these stories. And Sid's like, no, dude, it's just fake. But I like how Stanley kind of gets so metaphysical with it. It's like he really is a stoner. Like he was going on another level with that, and I kind of appreciated that. That was funny. So she's not really taken to the training that well, so he starts to taunt her and get into her emotions, and that activates it. Like her powers are emotion based, and she's you know, she can't. It's a little tough for her to access them just out of sheer will, because they're new and she's getting used to them. So that kind of causes a little rift between them, just a little rift. I think that leads into my favorite episode, which is episode 5, where they go to detention, which was great. So Brad was cheating off of Dina, so they get the detention. Sid snaps, and she tells the teacher, like, that's fucking stupid or something like that. So now she's got detention. So, and then Stan is like, the teacher's like, anyone else? And Stan just stands up, and they're just looking at him, and he like throws his shit on the floor, and they're still just looking at him, and he's like, motherfucker. They're like, all right, you can go to detention too. So, so everyone's in detention. All 4 of them in detention, and Jenny, the bad girl. And it's clearly, at that point, I was like, oh, this is the Breakfast Club. You know, we got the jock, we got the popular girl, we got the nerdy guy, we got the awkward girl, and then we got the bad kid. Although this term is a girl instead of Judd Nelson. And it's a little subtle moment where it's like, oh, it's a Breakfast Club. And before all of that, Brad and Sydney are the first ones there. And Brad realizes that Sydney doesn't like him, but he's dating her friend. And he's like, hey, let's have a truce. I know we kind of got off on the wrong foot, because he's talked shit about her and stuff like that. And she's talked shit about him. So he's like, hey, let's, for the sake of Dina, since we're going to be in each other's lives, let's have a truce to be cool. And she reluctantly is like, all right, we'll have a truce. So they're sitting through detention. They have to clean the bleachers. They're there with the principals after school. And nobody does anything. They're just bullshitting. Sid goes to the library, and then something weird happens. Of course, we see she's being followed by someone. We don't know who this person is. All we know is it's a dude in a trench coat, and apparently he has smoke powers, and it causes it wrecks the library, which we're led to believe that she does it, but then we find out that it actually was someone else that caused that to happen, or spooked her to do it. So she tells Stan, like, hey, I need your help because there was something that happened in the library. And he's like, well, well, the main problem is the security camera caught it, so they have to figure out how to get it off the camera. And they realize they have to sneak into the principal's office, but they have to figure out a way to get him out of the office. And then they realize, well, we need to get the keys. The janitor is probably the only person with the keys, so we're going to need someone with boobs to distract her, which would be Dina. So she gets Dina involved. And this was probably one of the funnier moments in the show where Dina, she changes her clothes a little bit, like she rolls up her shirt to show her stomach off a little bit so she can try to entice the janitor into giving her the keys. And she's acting all like, oh, I don't know how, I need some help, and that, and the janitor's kind of looking at her, and he's just like, please, just stop. He's like, first of all, I'm married. Secondly, I'm gay. Third, you're embarrassing yourself. All you had to do was just ask nicely. So that was a great turn on that joke. And he gives her the keys, big ass ring of keys. And Stan comes up with the idea of like, okay, he's gonna put these burritos in the microwave in the metal foil, turn it up high, causes an little explosion that would distract the principal. Then the smoke would set off. The smoke alarm would further distract him. And then Dina keeps an eye out. They'll sneak into the office. And they're like, that's a terrible idea. He's like, it may be, but can you think of anything better? They can't, so they go with that. And it pretty much works. It was a moment where the principal was about to come into the office, but Dina breaks something to distract them further. They sneak in and they get the security footage, and then they get the hell out. And then after that, they smoke a joint in the hallway, which was Dina's first time smoking. So and that was fun. That was a fun little bit. So after that, Sid goes into the girls' locker room, and she walks in on Brad and Jenny having a conversation. And basically, the conversation is Brad had cheated on Dina. The night at the party, after him and Dina had that little argument, he ended up sleeping with Jenny, and they had sex like twice. And they're talking about it, and he looks over and sees that Sid heard this, and he's like, whoa, hey, don't tell Dina, and we made a truce, so you're going to keep this quiet. And Sid's kind of like, oh, shit. And then they look over, and Dina walks in, and they're all looking at Brad, because this is the girls' locker room, and Dina's like, why are you in here? And he's like, oh, well, I was coming in to use the bathroom, and then I ran into these two, and we just started having a conversation. He's like, isn't that right, Sid? And then they all look at Sid, and then Sid basically tells, and now Dina and Brad have broken up because he tells her that he cheated. Sid told him that he cheated. So now Brad is like fuck Sid. He's like, this is when he turns more into stereotypical bully, because he threatens her, and he's like, I'm going to get revenge on you, and da-da-da. And when Sid is freaking out because she feels like someone is following her, and Stan is trying to be helpful, but he's also still looking forward to the dance. She's like, I'm not worried about that. So they kind of have a falling out, and he decides to take someone else to the dance. She says she's not going. That's when she has the conversation with her mom about her dad, and she starts to feel a little bit better about it, but then she's also trying to deny herself, where she's like, okay, you know what, it's all in my head. There's no one following me. All things good. I'm just going to fake it till I make it type of vibe. And she, once Dina's concerned about, why do we do what we did, because there was something in the library, and she doesn't tell her exactly, but they make up, and they decide to go to the dance with each other, since she's not going with Brad. She didn't want to go, but she talks her into it. So everyone's getting ready for the dance. And also there was a thing where you have Sid. She was in therapy with the school counselor, and she was writing down in her diary, and she notices that one day her diary is missing, but she's like, eesh. So they get together, they go to the dance. It's a lovely little school dance. Her and Dina together. Stan is going with this new girl, but she's a lot more stuck up and prudish, so she doesn't like the fact that he smokes weed, and she doesn't like some of his quirky humor. So when they get to he wants to dance, she doesn't want to dance. It's like all this opposite. So he's depressed. He's sitting down. Sid goes over to talk to him. They have a conversation, and he's like upset because he's like, I thought you said you weren't coming. She's like, well, that wasn't the plan. And he tells her, like, I really like you. And she's like, yeah, I like you as a friend. And he's like, yeah, I figured you would say that. And so, oh yeah, and also earlier she had told him that she had kissed somebody at the party, but it was someone that didn't want to be kissed. So he, but he got over that. And so now they're gonna dance, and then Dina and Sid are dancing because he went off to go talk to the DJ because he hated the playlist, which I could relate to that too. And so so they're talking. They start talking about that moment where they had the little kiss. And Dina's kind of like, yeah, it was a little weird, but I wasn't like not into it. And it seems like they're about to kiss again, but then the music cuts off and they're gonna announce Homecoming King and Queen, and they do. Then Brad just pops in, and this is when it really turns into like a movie because like he comes in, takes the mic, and then they let him talk. No teacher stops him, and he's basically on the microphone. So Brad reveals he has Sydney's diary, and he exposes her in front of everyone, and he's like, Sid tried to sabotage my relationship with Dina. He's like, she made out with Dina. He's like, I like girls kissing, but this is something else. This is, she's gay, and that's not cool. And she's like obsessed with Dina. That's all she writes about in her own book, and like her family hates her. She's such a freak. It's sort of like Carrie, like somewhat like Carrie. It is Carrie vibes to a degree. And then he's like, and that's not even the weird part. What she wrote in her book, she believes that she has, and the whole time, Sid's not saying anything. It's just her dialogue. It's like, shut up, be quiet, shut up, shut up, shut up. And then as soon as he's like, Sid believes that she has, and then boom, his head explodes like Scanners. It's like Scanners, which is I think that's a John Carpenter movie, but Scanners, that scene where the guy's head explodes. Yeah, boom, head explodes, and then everyone freaks out. And before that, Stan was the only person who tried to stop him, and Brad punches him to the ground. Kind of knocks him out, basically. So by the time he wakes up, Brad is dead, blood is everywhere, and everyone just runs out of the gym, and Sid is just covered in blood, and she just runs down the street, and it's just a mess. And she goes into the woods. She goes to like this sort of it wasn't a water tower. It was almost like a sort of camping site, but it's like high up in the air to a degree. And she goes up and she's just talking to herself. She's like, you know what? Maybe I don't need to be around people. I'm too dangerous. And as she's talking, the smoke guy appears behind her. She turns around and like she sees, okay, maybe this guy is real. And she's like, we don't see his face. We just see like a low shot of him. And she's like, who? He's like, who are you? And he's like, he basically is like, you shouldn't be afraid. They should be afraid of you, and I'm here to help. But he's basically here to help. He's like, we should start, and it cuts off after that. So, who is this guy? Don't know. Is he good? Is he bad? Is he Professor X and wants to help? Is he Magneto, wants to help, but like also on some superiority stuff? We don't know. Are there more like him? Who knows? But that was a cool way to end the series, and yeah, that was. I mean, it was an accident, She didn't mean to kill him, so she's not evil or villain. She wanted to stop him. She didn't want, to make his head explode. But that was a great moment. It's a fun show. Check it out. It's easy watch. The cast is great. The jokes are great. Just can't wait to see where this goes next season. So those are my thoughts about I Am Not Okay With This. Let me know what you thought about it in the comments. Don't forget to give this video a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And stay tuned for more videos. Peace.